It's important to be able to print your projects full size so you can see the expected scale that all of the graphics have. The restriction is sometimes you don't have access to printers that can print larger than 11 by 17. So I'm going to show you how you can print something larger like a poster on a printer that only prints up to 11 by 17 or 8.5 by 11. In this case, it's a laser printer. So first you need to set up your file correctly so that you can print it in a way that will be helpful in the end. The main thing is you need to create a PDF of your poster because we can't print it out in pieces from the original Adobe programs. So if you're in Adobe InDesign, you need to go to File Export to create a print PDF. If you're in Illustrator or Photoshop, you just go File, Save As, and you can choose a PDF in the options. When you do this, you will get a window when you're exporting your Adobe PDF, and I would suggest that you put it on press quality, and then under marks and bleeds, I suggest you choose crop marks and check bleed settings if you did remember to create bleed settings in your document. This will allow you to have a better result in the end. Once you have a PDF, I want you to open it in Adobe Acrobat, not any other of the programs that can show PDFs. So if you double click the file and it doesn't open up in Adobe Acrobat, you need to right click on that file before you open it and say open with Adobe Acrobat, or open the software Adobe Acrobat and go file open within that. If you did choose crop marks and bleed settings, you should get a graphic such as this in which the background color bleeds beyond where the trim edge is. You can see the crop marks highlighted with the red arrow, so that shows you where the trim edge is. This allows you to trim it at the end and have a nice clean line with no white area. If you have bleed that's supposed to be on your document, but it's not showing up here, and you know you checked the bleed settings, you might make sure that in your original file you actually pulled that background image or color all the way out to the bleed line. That's usually highlighted with a red line within the Adobe programs. Once you get to that, then you can actually print from Adobe Acrobat. So you're going to go File, Print, and you'll see highlighted under Page Size and Handling, you want to choose Poster. And so this is showing you how you are actually going to splice all of these different pages together. In this case, it's going to be a lot easier for you to handle less pieces of paper. So I suggest that you change the page size away from 8.5 by 11 that it shows on this for 6 pages, and choose it to change it to 11 by 17. So you just select Page Setup and then change the paper size under there. That will allow you to have less pages. The second thing you need to do is choose the Printer button and uncheck Two-Sided. That does default to that often, and you want to uncheck that, otherwise you won't be able to print them out accordingly. So it should look like this, in which you see there's 4 pages and not 6 anymore. And then once you have this, then you can just hit print and then be able to have those 4 pieces ready to tape and trim. So the next step is then to tape and trim them together. So you will have respectively 6 to 4 pieces of paper to complete your whole poster depending on the size of it. You will need a cutting device, in this case an X-Acto knife, a ruler, and some Scotch tape. Now remember, we're not making the prettiest of compositions here when we're trying to tape it all together. This is just really more of something that you need to do when you're copying it for a critique. And so we know that it's not going to be super pristine. So Scotch tape in this case is all right. So one thing to consider is that cut marks are printed on your graphic by Adobe Acrobat, and those are not the crop marks. So you can see they're highlighted here. Cut marks will be where you're supposed to trim the paper so that it can line up piece by piece. So you need to cut to those cut marks. So it just means you're kind of trimming off little pieces of the paper, and then you're going to tape them together. So in this case, you're going to tape them so then you still have kind of the graphic all coming together. You might find that the graphic doesn't exactly line up, and there are kind of tricks to how you can get that to be done that you can ask individually on how to do that. But in general, this is what you're going to have, and then you're going to use that Scotch tape and just tape over all of the lines so that they stick together. And then lastly, then you're going to cut to your crop marks. This will be a lot easier if you do this last so that everything is lined up and as clean as possible. And then you should be done.